Hello and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to a rather wet lake district. And this lovely valley that you can see stretching out behind me is Great Langdale. It's actually one of my favourite places in the whole lakes. And today I'm heading up to a waterfall that I don't think I've ever seen before. It's Ghyll Force. I started at new Ghyll Hotel, the National Trust car park just down there. And it's only probably half a mile to the waterfall. And the reason why I'm only doing the waterfall today is because the weather is going to be absolutely awful. We've got constant heavy showers moving in, breaks of only a couple of minutes, no views up high. In fact, Lingmore Fell next to me is probably the only fell that's actually free of cloud. But yeah, the views still should be nice. I'm gaining a bit of height, going to gain about 100 metres or so. Have a look down to the very end of Great Langdale and hopefully try and find this waterfall. So I am currently walking alongside Ghyll, and it should be somewhere around here that Ghyll Force actually is. Now I know I've been further down the river before and actually got a shot of a waterfall here somewhere, but I've got a feeling the actual waterfall of Ghyll Force is slightly further up. So I'm going to keep going and keep checking the OS map and see if I can locate this waterfall. Well, I came across a couple of steps that led down off the main path that goes up to the Langdales, and I've actually come across the waterfall. And if I actually come over here, this is as far over as I can go without falling in the ravine. But in this deep gorge is actually Ghyll Force, the official one. When you search online, you tend to find people have taken pictures of the smaller waterfall further downriver, but that is actually Ghyll Force, and I've spotted a couple of steps down here, so I think I'm going to head across the river over to this boulder and see what else I can see in there. Well, now that I'm up from down there, that was absolutely breathtaking. If you've got a little bit of guts, there are just steps down. It's a little bit slippery, but it's okay. Across the river, stood by this rock, and the view of the waterfall was just breathtaking. And the only way I can describe it is like standing in a hurricane or something. The noise is so loud, and it feels like there's a wind coming down the ravine. Just spectacular. And unfortunately now it's time to head back down, but that was so worth it. So I've taken a little detour just along the actual Ghyll, and where most people would consider is actually Dungeon Ghyll Force, but it's not. So the waterfall you see just down here, that is photographed regularly and labelled as Dungeon Ghyll Force. And if I look up river, you can see a series of waterfalls as well. These ones are below the bigger waterfall, just slightly higher up. So if you're told this is Dungeon Ghyll Force, you're wrong. It is the one higher up. And it's a little bit of an adventurous trek to try and get to this point. You've got a very narrow path right alongside the rocks. You've got to be very careful. But it is still worth coming to check out. So I'm now down, and there's one last thing to do, and that is just to have a little look and see what birds are on the feeders. There's a little viewpoint across to lots of feeders that the National Trust have put up, and then that leads you literally straight back to the car park.